Okay, so I see some students slowly coming in, so we're just going to give it a couple more seconds and then we will start. Okay, so welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all New Jersey students, sponsored by the New Jersey Association for College Admission, Counseling, and StriveScan. So thank you for joining us. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button that you see on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. Just a reminder, this is one of just the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at njacac.org/virtualfair. And this presentation is also being recorded and will be available within a week at the same website. And that website again is njacac.org/virtualfair. So I'm gonna hand it over to our presenters.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chelsea LeDuc. I am the New York and New Jersey Regional Admissions Counselor here at George Mason University. Thank you for joining us this evening. With me is Carla Goodwin. She is one of the admissions counselors that works on campus for Fairfax. She also helps me cover New Jersey. So I am a regional admissions counselor, so I actually live here in New Jersey. I'm in Monmouth County. So in a non-pandemic world, I would invite you to meet with me for coffee or bagels to answer any questions that you have, but this is as great as we're going to get this year. So I do invite you to reach out to either myself or Carla as we go through your college admissions process. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. So a little bit about George Mason. We are the largest public research university in Virginia. We hold an R1 Carnegie rating, which means a couple of different things. The biggest is the amount of funding that our undergraduates are receiving for research. There are about 110 colleges and universities across the country that hold an R1 Carnegie rating, and Mason is one of them. When you look at our student body, we have around 37,000 total students. Our undergraduate student population is around 25,000 students. We are a very large university, but as somebody who went to a very small private college, I never feel like there are 25,000 students around me when I am on campus. We have the youngest law school in the top 50. Our Antonin Scalia Law School is located on our Arlington campus in Arlington, Virginia, which is about 10 miles from our Fairfax campus and right across the river from Washington, D.C. We also offer a 3+3 law program through our law school for students who are motivated to pursue their law degree in an accelerated fashion. We have the second largest residential campus in Virginia. Because we live in such a high density area in terms of population, there are misconceptions about us being a commuter school, and that's simply not the case. We do have a large presence of students living on campus. And those students are made up of all 50 states and 139 different countries. So you'll definitely get a global education both inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom. Speaking of inside of the classroom, we offer over 80 different majors for students to choose from. And when you break down the minors and concentrations, we have over 200 options for students to choose from when it comes to selecting an area that will help them get to their career goals. We also offer over 55 accelerated master's programs for students. And this allows you to complete your master's studies in a year rather than having to go to another institution, acclimate yourself with the campus, the professors, the resources available to you, and spending maybe 2 to 3 years doing that. Instead, you can stay at Mason and complete it in an accelerated time. When you're looking at your curriculum, students are taking the Mason Core, which is our general studies courses. That's going to provide you with classes like English, math, social sciences, lab sciences, and that way you're getting an overview of everything, a variety of different majors and subjects, so that you have a college level understanding of it. We also encourage experiential learning in all of our different departments on campus, whether that's field trips with professors through your classes, internships, or job opportunities on and off campus. They are highly encouraged. And every student receives an academic advisor who is going to be there to guide you every step of the way for your college classes, making sure that you're taking the courses needed to complete your degree on time and meet all of the degree requirements. Our student to faculty ratio is 16:1, and the average class size is 25 to 35 students. So for being such a large university, you are still getting that small school feel in your classes where you're not going to be in a large lecture hall with hundreds of other students. And this lends itself to more interactions with your peers as well as your professors. Inside of our Honors College is a way to make those classes even smaller. So our Honors College courses are capped at 25 students. And the Honors curriculum allows students to focus in on a specific area of knowledge or topics that interest them. Some of the courses that we're offering in the Honors College right now for this semester include Identity in Disney's World, which focuses on representation in Disney movies and TV shows. We're also offering a class on American pandemics. So the classes are definitely going to be engaging students in real-world topics and current events. We also offer the living learning communities for students. Honors College does have its own living learning community, or LLC, so that you can be around like-minded students who are interested in putting their studies first. And then we also offer additional support. So within the Honors College, you will have priority class registration, so you won't have to worry about fighting for the classes that you need or the classes filling up. You'll also be working specifically with advisors within the Honors College. Our location is, like I said, in Fairfax, Virginia, about 15 miles from Washington, D.C. We do provide a free shuttle for students to the Vienna Metro station. So our campus is the green dot on the bottom of the map, and the shuttle will take you up that purple line to where it meets the orange line, which is the line you would take directly into Washington, D.C. It's about a 25 to 35-minute train ride. Otherwise, it's about 45 minutes to drive without traffic. And I'm going to hand it over to Carla now.
All right, well, hello everyone. Like Chelsea said, I'm Carla Goodman. I'm one of the admissions counselors. So she just talked about our location. I always say that's a great pull from Mason because it opens up our students to a plethora of opportunities that are unlike other areas. So on this screen, you see a bunch of logos and you're probably wondering what these are. They're actually internships that Mason students either have had in the past or currently have. And you'll see a lot of them are specific to the area. So the Kennedy Center is actually the Performing Arts Center. The Washington Nationals is the baseball team. Then I know you see the Capitol building. And what's great about internships is that it really allows you to try some of the careers that you hope to have in the future. It gives you that exposure while also helping build up your resume. So that exposure piece is extremely important because imagine there's a job that you think you really love, and then you get to an internship and you discover that you actually truly like it. Then you already know what trajectory you want to continue throughout Mason. But if you get there and you're like, this is not for me, I do not want to do this for the rest of my life, at least you learn that as, let's say, a freshman student. And then sophomore year, you can get a completely new internship. And notice I said you can get an internship as early as freshman year. So a lot of these are facilitated through University Career Services, which will help you get connected, but they're also great for postgraduate opportunities. I always say the return on investment at Mason is extremely strong. And I think part of it has to do with our location. So actually 80% of students have a full-time position, or they are attending, let's say, graduate school, medical school, anything of that sort within 6 months of graduating. And University Career Services also hosts job fairs on campus. And in the pandemic world, they even have one virtually where you get to meet with a bunch of employers. And I always tell the story of the one, he works for a tech firm in California, and he comes to our job fair every single year. And he says he only attends 2 job fairs every year, and one of them is Mason because he is that confident that he can get what he needs from our student population. All right, next slide. So you also want to expose yourselves to things outside of the Mason community. I always say my biggest regret of being an undergraduate student is I did not study abroad. So I did not attend George Mason, and working here, I really appreciate the opportunities that they have for students that want to explore the world. So we already have a campus in Korea. It's known as Mason Korea. It's in South Korea specifically, very close to the capital in Songdo, Korea. And you can actually study through there for 3 years and then do 2 semesters on our Fairfax campus. But if Korea is not necessarily your jam, you can study all around the world. It used to be all 7 continents until we realized no one was really going to Antarctica, so we got rid of that program. I don't blame them, but it's in over 75 countries. And the reason I didn't study abroad is because when I was at my institution, they had the traditional programs that were semester long and really limited to junior year, and that just didn't work with my schedule at the time. So I really appreciate Mason's options because they make it possible for theoretically all majors to study abroad. And it can be as the traditional semester-long programs or as short as spring break or as long as an entire year. And it doesn't necessarily cost extra because there are scholarships and financial aid programs that you can apply for to supplement that. But if it is a semester-long program, typically it is equivalent to the Fairfax tuition. And it can be as early as freshman year through the Global Gateway program, which is actually your spring semester in countries such as Costa Rica, Chile, and Argentina. So a lot of different options there. Next slide. All right, but when you are on campus, you have to live somewhere. So we do require freshmen to live on campus. I know Chelsea said at the very beginning, we are the 2nd largest residential campus in Virginia, and there definitely is housing life. And if you are unfamiliar, Mason was founded in 1957, but we weren't on our current campus until 1972. And that makes Mason younger than my mom, and she is a very spring chicken, as she likes to call herself. So that really speaks to the quality of the residence halls. Yes, we are in Virginia. Yes, there is air conditioning. And all of the residence halls are pretty standard. So as a first-year student, there are 2 main options, either community-style living or suite-style. Communities when you share bathrooms with the floor. Suite-style is more so when you have direct roommates in a private bathroom, a little more perks. And then it is very safe. So there are 24-hour help desks. As a freshman, you can park your car on campus. I know New Jersey students ask that all the time. There's access to Wi-Fi. And there are also living learning communities outside of the Honors College one. So if you are a first-generation student, or maybe you're pre-nursing, or you're really into outdoor and recreation, there are living learning communities for you guys as well. Next slide. All right, so when you're on campus, you have to eat, and I swear this is one of my favorite things about Mason is all of these options. So we do have 3 dining halls, all you can eat style, and as a first-year student, you get unlimited swipes, so you will be eating a lot, but we also have the robots. If you're unfamiliar, they follow the Uber Eats model where exactly you kind of drop a pin and the robot comes to you and will deliver food from locations such as Blaze Pizza or Dunkin' Donuts. Yes, there are cup holders. And then we also have a full-time nutritionist. So if you're vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, any of those options and more, there is someone that is willing to kind of meet with you, even in a virtual sense now, to go over the various dining options or ways that you can really shape your diet to be the healthiest you. And then we do have a Mason run greenhouse, and that's for initiatives. We've produced tons of materials. Some are used in the dining halls, but some are also for the greater community outside of Mason too. Okay, student resources. So at the very beginning, Chelsea mentioned that Mason is extremely diverse. Fun fact, we're actually the most diverse school in Virginia and 15th most diverse in the United States. But I always like to say diversity is not just about where you come from. It can be a whole slew of factors, including gender, sexuality, political views. But what it all boils down to here at Mason is that we like to embrace those differences, but we also like to support students and their diverse needs. So we have a lot of student resources available, including ODIME, which is our Office of Diversity, Inclusion, Multicultural Education. They always partner or they work closely with LGBTQ resources for workshops, roundtables, things of that sort. Student health services, which I know is very important, especially now. CAPS, counseling and psychological services, where you can meet with a specialist. Or you didn't hear it from me, they have a mind spa full of essential oils, a massage chair, and I always forget the little sandbox with the thing where you push it around. We also have disability services, which also helps with assistive technology, closed captioning, things of that sort, any accommodations you might need for your classes, and you might need more time for exams, whatever that might be, there are people to support you on campus, including financially with the Office of Student Financial Aid. All right, and our community. A lot of diversity comes with a lot of student organizations. Yes, we have over 460 and the range is very large. We have academic clubs, we have Greek life, we have around 40 fraternities and sororities. I will say Greek life is not so intensive on campus to the point that if you're not a member of a Greek organization, you're seen as an outcast. But of course, that is an option available to students. We have a cappella groups, we have the chocolate tasting club, we have the gaming club. The list goes on. There's a little bit of everything for everyone at Mason. And if not, somehow, if you cannot find a club within the 460, we really encourage students to make their own, and you might become 461. We are a Division I NCAA school. We have 20 teams. We're primarily a part of the Atlantic 10 Conference, and I cannot go through a session without mentioning the #1 pep band in the nation, which is Green Machine. And I like Green Machine because all majors, you do not have to be an arts major to be on Green Machine. And they play at our athletic events, but also other non-Mason sponsored events, such as the World Series last year.
So the application process. We offer applications on the Common Application or our Mason exclusive application. There's no advantage, there's no one is better than the other. It's all the same information. So we leave it up to the student to select which application they would like to select. When we are looking at your application, we also ask for your official high school transcript, your standardized test scores. There is an asterisk there. I will get to that on the next slide. We ask for an essay and 2 letters of recommendation. We would prefer that those letters of recommendation come from a teacher and a school counselor. However, if you are involved in athletics and you would like your coach to write your letter of recommendation, we will accept that as well. We utilize a holistic review. So we are looking, yes, at your GPA and yes, at your test scores if you submit them, but we're also looking at each student individually and what you are accomplishing both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So do you have an after-school job? Are you able to participate in community service? What do your letters of recommendation say about you? What does your essay say about you? All of those things hold weight just like your GPA and SAT or ACT scores do. If you are interested in applying to the Honors College, there is an additional essay that is required, and it's a 650-word maximum essay. So it doesn't need to be a research paper or a novel, and the prompt is usually a very interesting one to read. I look forward to reading honors applications every year. Also highly encouraged is a resume and an additional letter of recommendation from a teacher in a core subject. I have learned that if something is highly encouraged, you should do it, you should submit it, but again, it is not required. And then if you're interested in our College of Visual and Performing Arts, an audition or portfolio review is required. So if you're interested in dance, theater, any of our music majors, game design, you would need to submit, again, the audition or portfolio. And more information can be found on our College of Visual and Performing Arts website, which is listed there, cvpa.gmu.edu. When we are looking at your grades and test scores, a 3.3 to a 3.9 is where our average student falls, and that is a weighted GPA. For the SAT and the ACT, we are looking for an 1100 to a 1220, and we do super score, and the ACT is a 23 to a 29 composite score. We were test optional prior to the pandemic, so we have not had to make any major changes to our admissions policies. One thing to keep in mind is previously, if a student was interested in our Volgenau School of Engineering, they would need to have a 550 in the math section of the SAT or a 26 in the math section of the ACT in order to be admitted into their specific major within the engineering school. But because of the pandemic, canceling tests in the spring, we chose to make some accommodations for our students. So students are eligible for Volgenau without test scores so long as they have pursued 4 years of math and received at least a B average or higher in each course. Our deadlines are November 1st for early action and January 15th for regular decision. I tell all of my students in New Jersey and New York to apply by November 1st because that is the deadline for our Honors College review as well as Merit Scholarship review. And I want my students to be able to finance their education with less money coming out of their pockets. The early action is non-binding, so that does not mean that you have to enroll at Mason if you get accepted, though we really hope you do. And you'll also be notified of your decision by mid-December. Along with your admissions decision, you will be notified of your scholarship amount by mid-December. So it's a great way to go into the winter break knowing that you have been accepted to Mason and what your scholarship amount looks like. And then if you are looking for financial aid, the FAFSA is open. It opened last Thursday on October 1st. So I encourage all students to fill it out if you are eligible for federal student aid. And if for some reason you think that you're not, please communicate with me. I'd be happy to walk you through the additional resources available for students who aren't eligible for financial aid. And then I invite you to connect with Carla and myself. You can reach us at our emails listed here. I'm happy to meet with you guys through one-on-one interviews. There are a lot of different ways to connect with Carla and I, but you can also learn more about Mason or about us on the admissions page, the virtual experience page, and our fall events page. So I'm going to leave it on this screen for a little bit so that you can jot down those websites. And then if anybody has any more questions, I'm going to just stop sharing my screen now so that you guys can hopefully join our Mason story. So hopefully this is the beginning of your Mason story. Hopefully we will see you next fall or the fall after that if you're a junior on campus wearing some green and gold. So let's turn it over to any questions that students have.
Also, I'm realizing we might have a transfer student here, so if you are, please let us know so we can give you some info too.
Oh, yes, definitely. I'll actually just go ahead and share some information about one of the big things for transfer students is our transfer student scholarships. We do provide very nice scholarships for transfer students. You do need to have 30 credits that are transferable to Mason in order to come in as a transfer student. If you do not have that many credits, then you would actually be required to submit your high school documents, so your high school transcript and SAT or ACT scores if you took the test. From there, if you get accepted, students with a 2.8 GPA or higher will be eligible for scholarship review. And our merit scholarships for transfer students start at around $10,000 a year. So that's something that I highly encourage our transfer students to check out and definitely communicate with me or with Carla if you are interested in learning more about our transfer application process.
And I see we already have a question. The question is the essay prompt for the Honors College the same as the Common App essay prompts? So the answer is no. They are actually two separate essay prompts, but the benefit is you do not have to fill out a completely separate application. So if you are on the Common application, there will be a question that says, are you interested in applying to the Honors College? If you select yes, then an additional essay prompt would pop up on the screen, and that prompt is going to be write about something that you would like to research while at Mason, or write about something that you have read and how it has influenced you. You might have an idea for some research, and you might have read something. If you read The Great Gatsby, that's great, but you can also read a stop sign. We encourage you to be creative with these essays and really just show some of your personality, but also your passion. That's the main thing about the Honors College. There's no set GPA requirement or a standardized test score requirement. Once again, want to reiterate that we are score optional. So if you apply score optional, you are not at a disadvantage in any way. But for the Honors College, we are really looking for well-driven students. So that is evident in your essay by just putting some effort into it, forming a clear, logical essay, and just being creative with it and have fun with it. Any more questions? And you can ask us absolutely anything. I will also say it is a small group, so we can also treat the Q&A function as kind of a chat. So if there are any thoughts you have about what we said, maybe you might want to share what part of New Jersey you're joining us from, what year you are in high school, anything like that.
Carla and I split the state horizontally. So if you are in Mercer or Monmouth North, then I am visiting your high schools. And if you are in South Jersey, then Carla is visiting your high schools. But we'd love to know where you guys are from and let you know if we have visits coming up at your high school later on in the month. Shy group.
This is a very shy group.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I'm going to go back to the links that we put in the PowerPoint so that you guys can copy those down. Again, there's so much information on our virtual campus experience site. I highly recommend checking it out simply because from there you'll be able to take a virtual tour. You'll be able to watch videos about our housing, about dining. You'll probably be able to see more about the robots that we have on campus that will deliver your food to wherever you are on campus. So definitely check that out.
Even you just mentioning the robots made me hungry.
I know, I miss them.
I will say also the very last link that Chelsea's about to pull up is actually our events page. So you can see all of the upcoming events that we have scheduled. And some of them are more general. So it'll kind of be like this where you'll get general information about Mason. But if you ever have any questions about extremely specific majors or even the schools within Mason, and we do have a lot, so like we have the College of Science, the College of Visual and Performing Arts, we have the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Studies. We also have Health and Human Services. So there are a lot of different options there. And I do see another question. Ooh, are you still going to have study abroad programs next year? Because I know that the COVID-19 pandemic halted a lot of other schools' programs.
So right now, obviously, we don't have programs running. It really depends on what the state of the pandemic is. Obviously, we're not going to send students abroad to countries that may not have a good grasp on the pandemic. Your safety is priority number one. So really, it just comes down to what's going on in terms of what we're mandated by the federal government, by the Commonwealth's government. It's all kind of a trickle down on what we're allowed to do and what we're allowed to offer. But we're holding out hope that we'll be able to resume those programs next year.
And even if we do not have them next year, the best thing about Mason is that you can study abroad all 4 years. So even if you cannot your freshman year through, let's say, the Global Gateway program, you have all the way up until senior year. And when I tell you there are so many options, when I first started working at Mason, I was amazed that some can be as short as spring break, and you are guaranteed to have at least 4 spring breaks, but then you also have your summer breaks. And then if you are really ambitious and you really want to explore the world, you can go for an entire year. So do not be discouraged if the COVID pandemic decides that it just is really persistent and wants to stick around, and it kind of halts those programs, because there will always, you have another 3 years to throw at them to give it a try. Kayla, not to put you on the spot, but where would you want to study abroad if you could? And I will say, if you can, our Global Education Office, they do have a website, and it's actually pretty cool. It's designed as a map, probably somewhere in Europe. Okay, yeah, so you could actually pull up the map of the world, and they do have little plot points, and you can see all of our locations in Europe. And there's a lot of different types of study abroad programs, so you might want to do the typical where you study at an institution with a group, but some students actually venture off and do international internships. You might get a position internationally. So one of our coworkers, she did a program in Japan before she graduated from Mason. So there are definitely a lot of different options. You might even live with a host family. So please, if you do attend Mason, check out the Global Education Office.
Another one of our colleagues was very involved when he was a student at Mason, and he definitely did not want to miss out on the happenings of campus life. So he did study abroad in the winter break between the fall and the spring semester. His study abroad option took him to Ecuador. So again, you have options all over the world. Again, safety is #1 priority, so we're not going to send you to anywhere that is a risk to your safety, but we will find programs as close to what you're looking for if we don't have them already.
You're welcome. A question I am also curious about, how do you all feel going through this process considering the pandemic? Do you feel you're getting exposure to a lot of schools? Have you been exploring social media? I know Chelsea showed that slide, but we are extremely active on social media, and a lot of other institutions are as well. And I always recommend YouTube as a great source. So we have our own YouTube channel, but it's always great to look at, if you just put the school you're interested in YouTube, you can find student blogs, and it kind of gives you that real student perspective of different events, especially maybe homecoming you might be interested in. I know dorm room tours are really popular. So really encourage you to explore those options because it can supplement this whole college search that you're trying to do right now.
All right.
We have another question. I'm wondering if you would mind talking more about your 3+3 law program. Yeah, so that's actually a great program. So it sounds as what it says. So there's 3 years that you would first do undergraduate at Mason, and we do have our own law school. So ideally, let's say your major is government and international relations. How they manage to pull this off is you are intended to finish that major in those first 3 years so that you can go directly to our law school and then complete the law program, which is traditionally 3 years long. So you would get the degree, both your bachelor's and your JD degree, in a total of 6 years opposed to the traditional 7. And the application process is a little bit more hands-on. So if you do attend Mason, we really encourage you to identify yourself as being interested in this program from your freshman year so that you can map out all of your classes to make sure that you finish your major in time to transition to the law school. And then even the application process is a little bit, I would say, a little bit less strenuous. Of course, you're going to be on accelerated pass in terms of your classes, but you do get someone very hands-on that is going to work with you to apply to the 3+3 program. And actually, our law school is now accepting, in addition to the LSAT, the GRE exam. So they make it extremely accessible. And then if you are not kind of all set on law school, we have accelerated master's programs for a lot of our other majors, and that follows the same model. But instead of graduating with your bachelor's after 3 years, during your senior year, you're going to also take classes that count towards the master's degree. So once you graduate, you don't have as many credits or as much time left to complete that master's.
Definitely reach out to either Carla or me through our emails, and we'd be more than happy to include some links to our website where you can read more information. Our 3+3 law program, they do have a checklist available for anybody to see, just so that you have an idea of what is expected of you each year. So you'll be able to see that you have to attend certain information sessions your freshman year, and just going through certain steps to make sure that you are on track for that program when it is time to transition into your law classes your senior year. Anybody else have any questions? All right, well, if there are no further questions, not going to hold you guys hostage. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedules to meet with us this evening. It's very important to us that we connect with you. We hope that you found the information beneficial and that you did get your questions answered. So thank you again for taking time out of your nights, and best of luck this school year. Hope to connect with you through your application process.
Okay, so thank you to Chelsea and Carla. And I would just want to thank you guys for joining us. So when you close the window, there's going to be a quick 4-question survey that will appear as soon as the window closes. Make sure that you sign up for more sessions, and you can check out that schedule at njacac.org/virtualfair. And just a reminder that the recordings will be available within a week at the same website, njacac.org/virtualfair. Thank you guys. Have a great night.